Hello and welcome back to Stochastic Agency on August 3rd for RPG A Day 2022. So today we've got a question about when we all got started. When were you first introduced to RPGs? Well, I'm always amazed that people remember the exact year, especially when you start getting up there as far as how old you are. So in general, it was somewhere between 78 and 82. Roughly elementary to middle school, somewhere in there. That's about all I can really remember. The experience was my parents were going out, and I was handed off to my brother for babysitting purposes, who unfortunately at that time also had plans to go out with his girlfriend. Now I know that one of them was old enough to drive because we went to her family's apartment, and that was where I got handed off to her brother. So it was kind of a long chain of being passed around when you're, a young kid. I remember playing D&D. That's specifically what I remember. Do I remember if it was red box, blue box, white box, whatever it was? No, I don't. I just remember it was Dungeons and Dragons. I remember playing a lot of different characters because I really don't know how long we were there, how long we played. It's been so long ago for that first experience. I know it was basic D&D, whatever that means. I know it was not first edition because it was not a hardcover. I remember there being a box. So with that being said, it was an experience where it was my first one-on-one RPG role-playing experience. Her brother had me make several characters, and they were various different character classes. I know for a while there that it was one character that I ran and played with, and then I remember running a couple of different characters after that, all together at once, as an adventuring party, making decisions for each character as we played. And maybe, just maybe, that's where my fascination with the idea of troop-style play finally, came from, where you have one person controlling multiple characters for a game, whether that's solo or because somebody in the group just didn't show up. It was a trying experience, mostly due to the fact that I was the only player, and that was it. I know characters died a lot. I know I didn't really kill a lot of monsters. I remember that. I don't think there was any we got out of the dungeon moments. It was we went in and played, and it was more or less, hey, occupy this kid while we go out on a date. Was it a bad experience? No. Didn't know any better. I had never heard of the game. It was the first time I'd ever played the game, and at that time, it was pretty simple to play. There weren't a lot of moving parts to it. Make a character, make some decisions, roll some dice, and see what happens. I remember it being fun. I remember it being fun enough that a few weeks later, maybe a month or so, I do remember being at a hobby store here locally, close to where I live, and seeing the game on the shelf. I don't remember getting the box, and I think my actual first real introduction to playing it on my own was when I got my first hardcovers. The DMG, the Monsters Manual, and the Player's Handbook for first edition. I do remember going back and buying the box sets at one point in time. Though I don't own them now, as a kid, I didn't really get attached to things like that. Kind of regret it a little bit, but it was a fun experience. So somewhere way back there in history is where I got my first chance playing. Do I remember the exact time, the date, the edition? No. I just remember playing this thing. And it was different than any game I'd ever played. It wasn't Stratego. It wasn't Monopoly or Life. But there were a lot of life decisions that had to be made, right, for the lives of the characters. I do remember that we didn't play it very strictly. There was no hex crawl or serious monitoring of how fast the torches burned down. It was just playing. And that, in itself, was enough to get me hooked. So as far as starting out, that's all I've got. for today. RPG Day 2022 here on August 3rd was a good experience, and I'm glad I had it. Hopefully everybody gets out there to have a chance to play some more games, find a new game to get introduced to, or introduce someone else to. Keep playing along and get more games under your belt. Be good and have a nice time.